Hello scrapbooking friends, and thank you for joining me for another process video. So today I'm working on a single page layout, and it's a layout of my own design, and it's another donkey layout. So the paper that I'm using today is Sweet Rush Love This, Vicki Boutin of course, and I'm using the text side. The B side, or the other side, is this beautiful side. I'm not sure if I've got two pieces of that because I really like obviously the rainbow here, and I really like this grid as well, this sort of graph paper. So yeah, it'd be nice to use that. I'll have to check, see if I've got another sheet, I'm not sure. So today I've got in mind a centered layout, so a central design with the photo, and then a top left, a bottom right design with the embellishments, which is one of my favourite things to do. I like kind of like a nice grid style, I like a nice centred style, but I also like a top left to bottom right. So this photo here of CJ, I've actually mounted it onto some white textured cardstock and then some torn tracing paper. And I've just used that alpha that I've used before just to put CJ. His full name is Trevor Jack, but he is affectionately known as CJ. So yeah, and what I've done is that alphabet is the one that I mentioned before. I've managed to get another title. It's not really a title, but this is all that's left of it. What's here? Sorry about that, my husband just interrupted me. Chester was coming upstairs. He didn't realise I was filming. Yeah, so this is that alpha that I was talking about that I've tried to get loads more titles out of, and I have managed, and I can't actually read that, but I think it says, is it decoupage? And I think it's only from 2020, so it's not, well, I mean, to me it's not that old, but some people in scrapbooking that would be ancient, but you know, there you go, it's relative, isn't it? So yeah, so I've got like an E, two E's actually, some A's, but annoyingly no T's. I always seem to need them, and no R's. So yeah, I'm still going to hang on to it and see what happens. I was hoping to get, I was thinking of getting Emily on here for Emily the donkey, but yeah, I didn't have what I needed for that, so didn't even have a Y, so that goes to show, doesn't it? I've used the Y's as well. So yeah, I've done that. This notebook paper here is literally just that, it's notebook paper. So I've had it for years, like quite a number of years. It's not a scrapbooking product, it's just like a little pack of note papers that I had, and I'd forgotten I'd got it actually. I came across it the other day, so I thought I'll try and use it up. So I've got a few of those sheets of it left, so thought I'd use that up for my journaling. And Emily here has been mounted onto white textured cardstock. Now ideally I would have printed Emily's photo large and CJ's photo small, because the story is more about Emily than CJ, but I'd already printed this lovely photo of CJ, and then I printed this photo for my traveller's notebook, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to use them. It doesn't matter, does it? It's still telling the story, and it's not like one's more important than the other or anything. It's just that that's quite a not a dramatic photo, but it's quite I like that photo, the composition of it and everything. So yeah, so this is what we're going to look at. I've got my Flair pieces over here. I've got this August one, so one of the month ones, and then what I've done is mounted on a foam this little bee. I think I said in my previous video I found these little bits and pieces from a Simple Stories, I think it was, set, and I used some on a previous set, and now I've just used the other two as well, so I don't think there's any left now, so I was quite pleased that I found those. And yeah, it was just goes to show, like, it's important to look through your stash to see what you've got. So I've got these two wooden hearts here just from my stash. They're quite chunky. The reason I'm using them on this layout is because, number one, I like them. Number two, it's quite a raised textured layout anyway with the XL. I use quite a high piece of foam on the XL Flair, and I've also added a foam pad to the two little die cut pieces as well. So I'm quite happy to not add that. You know, it doesn't matter if I'm adding extra texture, but I'm not adding extra texture by using these hearts. I normally use the flatter ones that I've got. I've got this little piece from Sugar Rush, it was a tab, and I've just cut the tab bit off and popped Emily's name on there. I think I'm going to put that here. So like that. And then I've picked up a Bramble Fox title piece called Braveheart. And I'm thinking originally that I'd have the journal in here and leave this as it is, and put this on the photo, which would have worked on the CJ photo, but it doesn't actually work on the Emily photo because that's where her head is, and I obviously don't want to cover her head, bless her. So, and then the other things I've picked out is the twine. I've got red and yellow. So the male donkeys at the sanctuary, the Jacks, have red head collars. The female donkeys, the Jennies, have yellow head collars. So I thought I'd do one of each for the 2 today. Ranger Archival ink in Jet Black and Carnation Red, not sure which yet. I've picked up some Heidi Swap Colour Shining Gold and White. I have got a red splatter, which is Perfect Pearls Mist, Forever Red. I was sort of thinking I might do red here and yellow here, but I haven't actually got any yellow spray. But I have got some watercolour in yellow. I'll just get that. I did grab it, but I'd put it somewhere else. So these are my mica watercolours, and I have got yellow there. As you can see, it's a bit messy, but I'm sure I could fix that just to get a bit of yellow splatter if I wanted to. So I've got to decide, remember as well, to whether to use red and yellow or just white. I definitely will be doing splatter on this page, I'm sure. So I've got these 2 little puffy hearts here that I just grabbed in yellow. I thought I'd probably put one by CJ's name and one by Emily's name. I suppose I could have done a red one for CJ, but because his name is in a light colour, I was thinking I would do that in a light colour as well. So yeah, I'm going to sort of try and get this photo a little bit centred on the page. Just doesn't have to be exact, just like how I like the look of it. And I like the effect of the torn edges as well, just, you know, overlapping the text, and you can just see it underneath. These are going to go here, and I think I want them to go underneath the tracing paper. I did tear that bottom tracing paper, but I tore it quite neatly, didn't I? It's not ragged. I quite like it to be ragged, but that's fine. It's not really going to be seen too much. So these I do want kind of a little bit centered, like I say, not exact, a little bit of an angle to them. I think I'll probably pop this one here. You can still see a little bit of that text there, and then you can still see the text at the bottom here. That's what I'm thinking. When I put it down, I may change my mind. We'll see. Yeah, I think I like that. Just like that. And then I'm going to pop Emily name there. Just under there, like that. I had wanted to use an alphabet to do Emily's name. I haven't got a white one. I would have liked to have done it in white. I think I'll pop that there, and I think I'll give one to CJ, like I said before. Yeah, I haven't actually got an alphabet at all in white, I don't think. No, I haven't. So yeah, obviously in the end I couldn't use it because I haven't got it. So yeah, I decided to just utilise that piece from Sugar Rush there. I haven't got much left in Sugar Rush now. In fact, all I think I've got left now is this piece here of the actual kind of, you know, die cut pack, or I can't remember what it was called, embellishment pack. And I've got this, which is quite tricky to use, but I'm sure I'll be able to use it at some point. I don't think I've got any other bits. I might be fibbing about that, but I think I'd left them all on my desk to try and remember to use them, and I've used them, so that's good. We'll pop this one down here. The XL, I do like using the XL pieces. I don't know what the weather's like where you are in the world today, but we're in the middle of a heat wave again here in the UK, and where I am in the south of England, it's we're now in a drought. They said yesterday that we're actually in a drought now. We weren't allowed to use hose pipes from last week, Friday, I think it was, the 5th. And now we're actually in a drought, so yeah, it's not great. It's quite worrying at the donkey sanctuary as well, because the ground is so dry. Oh gosh, the risk of fire is high. But obviously they do, you know, monitor that very, very closely. Right, so what I've done, I've popped my 2 large XL pieces down. I've added my 2 Flair. This one's one of the crosses, all the crosses set, and this is just like a dots on it. So yeah, I'm sure that they'll, if they haven't got those exact ones, they'll have very similar. See what my glue's doing. I came into my craft room to glue something yesterday, and I'd left it, the glue, in the cup that I normally leave it in, this cup here by my window, in front of the window. And I've not left it upside down, because what I do when I'm not using it, I don't leave it upside down, because otherwise it's too flowing when I come to use it. I just turn it upside down just before I start. But yeah, it was so like liquidy, kind of melted. It just poured out of the nozzle, really thin, poured out of the nozzle onto my page, and I hadn't even had it upside down, but because it was in that so hot, and it was right in the eye of the sun by my window there, it was yeah, so it was very, very fluid, let's say. So I've learnt my lesson on that one. I'm not going to leave anything in the sun, obviously, whilst it's very hot. So what I'm going to put, I'm going to have this, definitely going to have this title here. So what this is, on this day when I was at the sanctuary, Emily and CJ were in the barn. So normally the donkeys that are in the barn are the ones that perhaps got a little bit going on, something going on health-wise. It's not anything major or long-term or anything. They don't need to go to hospital usually. It's just that they just need to be more closely monitored for a little while. So in Emily's case, she was a little bit poorly, and she'd had nosebleeds. So they were both in the barn. I didn't know that at the time. I found this out later on, that she'd had nosebleeds. And here, CJ was her companion donkey that day. So whenever the donkeys are in the barn or wherever they are, if they're going anywhere or doing anything, they've always got a companion with them. And CJ was her companion that day. So yeah, it was quite nice to see them together. They're in the same herd anyway. I'm just looking at this and thinking whether I want to put it lower. And even though I said earlier about that text, and it does say fabulous there, all the things fabulous, do all the things fabulous, I was thinking of putting it lower and covering that, but actually, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to do it there, and I'm going to, instead of overlapping it onto the photo, I'm going to overlap it onto there. So yeah, and then I wasn't at the donkey sanctuary the following Tuesday. I wasn't able to go in the following Tuesday. So when I went back in this week, I found out that she'd had to go to hospital. So she'd had like a nosebleed, and they'd sort of tried to investigate, but unfortunately it did get worse, and she had like some blood loss. So she had to go to the mainland, to the hospital, the equine hospital, to have a blood transfusion. And they had to obviously pick a donkey that could go with her. There's quite a few donkeys that are quite happy to go on the donkey box and love to go out on a road trip or a jolly, but not that it's a jolly for Emily, obviously, but they needed to take a donkey that could give blood. So obviously they had to choose a donkey that was able to do that, like health-wise and everything, I suppose. So Thomas stepped up to the hoof, as you might say, and went with her. And then I found out that they came back earlier this week. So yeah, I didn't realise that she had to go to hospital until I was back at the sanctuary this week. But yeah, she's fine. And this photo was taken this week of her in the field munching, completely back to normal, so absolutely fine. So as you can see, I've scattered everything in my top left to bottom right, as I like to do. I've stuck everything down. I've got the title here is Braveheart, and I've got their two names on here. I have set the date for the 4th of August because that was the day that this photo of CJ was taken. So I think I'll do that, add that on there. I'll just do a little test there. Yeah. But then this photo of Emily was taken a week later. So what I think I might do is stamp the 4th here. And then I might do the writing for the 4th. And then I might say that this photo was taken the following week. Or what I might do is stamp the date on that photo. It doesn't really matter because I'm telling the story about them coming back and her being in the field anyway. So it'll probably be obvious. But I'll have a little think about that. So now then, the next thing I need to do is add my twine. So I think I've cut 2 pieces. Oh, I've got more than 2 here, haven't I? I did cut 2 pieces, but I think what I've done is I've left the bit that was left over, I've left that in there as well. So I thought I'd do some yellow here for Emily. Here's lovely Emily. She's got one eye. She's only got one eye. There's a few donkeys at the sanctuary that have only got one eye for different reasons. Usually it's because they've had like ulcers, or they've had like a tumour or something that's had to be removed. But they get along fine with just their one eye. We've got a blind donkey at the sanctuary as well called Nick. He lost his sight completely. And he's fine too. He gets along really well. He's got a friend called Coffee who looks after him and watches him over him. And she's got an eye condition as well, which is quite amusing because she watches Nick, who's blind. She's got an eye condition called uveitis, which means she has to have her eyes protected in bright light. So she'll quite often have a shield on her a visor on and she's out in the bright light. But yeah, she's absolutely fine, is Emily now. She's fully recovered from her little adventure. Hopefully we won't have any more adventures like that in the sanctuary. Right, just make sure that little edge bit is glued down there, I think. Then we'll get on to the red. Got the two, I've cut a smaller piece the same as before for the crosses. Crosses, apart from when I use them for my cross stitch and I do them the other way, I always think of crosses as kind of like medical. So yeah, I don't know, I suppose maybe the red cross, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm using that one. And also it's kind of like a red colour. It's more of a, it's a light sort of coral, not coral, sort of orangey red really, but yeah, still red. So if I can get a bit round here, that's quite close to the edge. The bees and the butterflies aren't really, you know, connected. Well, it's not completely random because obviously there will be bees and butterflies around the sanctuary, and we do get a lot of birds flying into the barns and everything because they like to pick up all the bits of hay and insects and things that they can find. So yeah, there are lots of flying creatures around. So yeah, I thought it was quite appropriate to pop those onto this layout and get them used. So right, now then, I think this is kind of the layout as I want it to be. Oh, I'm thinking though, you know, I could scatter something else, but I've used the hearts, haven't I? I think I'm just going to do the splatter, and I think I'm going to just do the white splatter and not the red and the yellow or the gold. Just going to do white, so I'll just shake that up. That's all shook up, and we'll have a little splatter fest. So yeah, Emily had to have the blood transfusion. Thomas very kindly supplied the blood for her, and Thomas is one of the loudest donkeys at the sanctuary, so we're sort of wondering whether Emily might have picked up some of his traits, you know, and be a bit louder now she's got some of his blood. Probably not. Thomas is amazing. He's a really funny donkey. He sticks his tongue out all the time. Some of the donkeys have tongues hang out because they haven't got many teeth like the older donkeys. Because they haven't really got any teeth. Some of them haven't got any teeth for them to hold their tongue in. And so some of them do have their tongue hanging out. But Thomas actually sticks his tongue out. And he curls his tongue and everything as well. In fact, if you all go onto YouTube and look at Isle of Wight Donkey Sanctuary, this week they're doing it's adoption week. So they're doing videos of all the herds. And if you look at the one for Thomas's herd, you'll see that he's sticking his tongue out in that video, quite amusingly, really amusingly actually. So it's the Jack the Lad's herd. I think it's the Jack the Lad's herd. I don't want to get that wrong, but yeah, he's in one of the videos sticking his tongue out. Right, I've done that little splatter there. Quite like that. In fact, I didn't want to stop. I felt as I wanted to do more. I'm just going to. The only thing I've got to do now is do the journaling, decide about that second date. If I do it on the photo, I use my Stays On ink, which I've got here in my drawer. Oh, I think I just put my finger in something there. Don't know what that was. Something sticky here. So I think I definitely will put the date here actually, just with the Stays On ink. In fact, now I need to just double check the date, but yeah. I think this layout's finished. So what I'll do is I'll go away and I'll add the journaling, which is what I've just told you, the story. I'll think about how I'm going to write that because I've only got small space and my writing's quite big, so I'll do that off camera in my Uniball Eye black pen, and I think it's 0.7, quite a fine pen. Yeah, I think it's 0.7, but anyway, it's just a Uniball Eye fine writing pen, journaling pen. I'll do that. I'll think about the date and then we'll see what it looks like from there. Okay, so I did the journaling and I just said Emily was a bit poorly with nosebleeds. CJ was in the barn with her. She had to go to Lip Hook for blood transfusion back in the herd now. I did actually want to say more than that. I wanted to mention about Thomas going with her and everything. But yeah, I didn't have enough room. So what I'll do is in my donkey traveller's notebook, I'll write more in there about that, and this is just kind of like the story of, really, of them being in the barn together. So I've got my stays on ink and my date stamp here. So I just thought I'd stamp that on camera for you, just to show you how to stamp on photos, or how I stamp on photos. So just like that, keep it steady. And there you go. Can't really read that very well because I think there's a bit of hay, dark hay or something in the way. So I'm just going to stamp that again. Yeah, that's much clearer, 11th of August. So it's actually an exact week later. So this photo was taken on the 4th. And then a week later when I was back at the sanctuary on the 11th, yeah, she was out back in the herd with all the others. So yeah, that was nice to see. A little bit of a worry as always with them when they're poorly, but yeah, it was nice to see her. So that stays on jet black, and I don't use that too often, so I like to make sure do a test stamp before I actually do it on the page, just to make sure that it's inked up properly. I have got re-ink, and I did re-ink that before I started doing this layout today, so because I've not used it in a little while, and yeah, it did seem a little bit sticky, a little bit dry. So yeah. Right, so that's this layout finished. Central design with the photo and the journaling and the title. A little bit of expansion of the embellishments as usual, and also this top left to bottom right that I like to do so much. So yeah, once again, thanks for joining me. Stay safe, take care, and I shall see you next time.